As the leader of the Booner Path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the fuck up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch Time Sports with Jeff and Booner. It is Wednesday, the day of the dock, the day after the trade deadline. Dan Campbell spoke today. Cannot wait to get into it. Practice. We get to see the injury report. Some names on there, returning players that are
No.
Yeah, stuff's getting interesting now, all right? Now we're kind of slowly shifting from trade deadline and the Vikings loss to game week against the Commanders. We're slowly making that turn, which I am fired up about. Lions play football this weekend. But Boone, we got a packed show today. We got over 24 hours removed from that trade deadline. All right?
Yeah.
So maybe the spirits, maybe people are a little still frustrated, but I think when you get a day to kind of, you kind of process things.
Get a feel for what happened. Yeah.
You think about it. It's like, it's like when your parents, when you were a kid, like your parents would like yell at you, you'd be upset. And then maybe like a day later, you're like, damn, okay, I see what I did. Like it takes a day, It's like, I got to
realize it
a little bit. Yeah.
It's like, you go through a situation and you're like, I've been in arguments with you boys. I've been in arguments with friends and family. And then it's like a couple days later or a day later, you sit there and go, yeah, you know what? Maybe that one was really on me, like, oh, now I understand what happened. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think I feel pretty good about the trade deadline. I felt good. Not good. I wouldn't say like great about it. I felt like I was a little more on the optimistic side than most people yesterday. I know you were a little like, what are we doing? And a lot of the fan base, everyone was saying hashtag crash out Jeff yesterday, which I thought was one of the funniest things I saw on Twitter and on our show. I don't think I was at that point. I definitely had moments where I was like, okay, you definitely could have made a move. I actually watched the Lions collective for the first 30 minutes today. And I thought Justin and I thought Justin had some good points. Colton had great points. I thought Will brought up just some stellar points.
He was dropping some bangers today, man.
Yeah, and then it's not because I agree I'm on his side. I genuinely think I was like, wow, like, no, he was like, I'm going to play the kind of devil's advocate of this. And I thought he brought up really good points about the offensive line and approaching the deadline, to where he brought up statistics and facts of like, hey, this is why this team might not make the Super Bowl, or not even just the Super Bowl, the conference championship game. And when you kind of open it up that way, it's like, okay, yeah, this is shocking that Brad did not make a move. I do think there's a world a day later where you actually do open the curtain a little bit and you realize, like, if you're just take a couple deep breaths, like, you do actually realize not every NFL contending team does make a trade on the trade deadline. So, and it's typically, if you have a great team, you just typically make it. Yes, if you have a need, you make that move. But if you really don't have like the biggest need and something doesn't make sense, obviously I understand in hindsight why they decided not to. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So I understand it more so today. Yesterday, I was still on the side of this team can still go win a Super Bowl. Everything's in front of them. And they still have one of the best rosters in football. You would have liked a couple patchworks, right? Would have loved Brad to grab some duct tape and taped a few things together.
Some duct tape, yeah. The old duct
He did.
tape.
He signed like 4 offensive linemen today. I don't know if you saw that. That was like interesting. Just like he was just like, you know what? We didn't get a trade done. Let me get every single offensive lineman on the practice squads around the NFL.
Yeah, one of these guys are going to be decent. That's what he's thinking.
They have to work out, right? One of them has to work out.
One of these dudes have to be decent. And they're getting some reinforcements for different reasons. One of them on the defensive line trending back. The other one on the offensive line, the rookie Miles Frasier. This was the official injury report. Jeremy Reisman kind of gave more context to it. Not at Lions practice today. Penei Sewell, he did speak to the media. He's feeling pretty good. He knows how important he is to this offense. Listen, he'll play. Okay. He's an Iron Man. He's going to play. Dan Skipper was not at practice. Left tackle Taylor Decker, not at practice. That's kind of been that's how it's went though. By the way, Jeremy put here left guard Pat O'Connor. That is, he meant defensive tackle, probably Pat O'Connor.
Left guard. Let Pat get in there and work a little bit. Hey, come on, Pat. That man can do it all.
Unless he's
can we scroll down? Do people comment about that? That's such a funny one, dude.
Oh, look at there we go. He goes, doesn't matter where that experience is.
Travis underwalk so Pat O'Connor could run is such a good. What a good statement.
Not at practice either. So, yeah, that one he might miss.
I'm moving forward with the thoughts that we might not have Kirby for a few more, like another week or two.
That's probably what it's going to be.
I'm hoping just by Philly.
Me too. Miles Frasier. There you go, Miles Frasier. Hey, 5th round pick rook.
Yes.
Edge Josh Pascal is back in the mix. Look at Josh.
Hey, can we get a air horn for our guy Josh Pascal, man? Well deserved. Woo!
Josh Pascal's back.
How about that?
Actually, like all seriousness, like I'm actually happy for him. He's back. That gives him a little more depth there. Even though you can say what you want about Josh, but he has depth. And Miles Frasier. I'm excited for some Miles Frasier, man. All right. They didn't do anything at the deadline, but guess what? It was always Miles Frasier, I guess. It was always going to be Miles Frasier. He's back. He was obviously a 5th round draft pick. Probably should have went way higher than he actually did go.
For sure.
But he is very intriguing. We were talking about it before the show. There's some good reason to be excited about Miles Frasier, man. Like his college career. He's got, this is what's so surprising to me. A player like him fell as far as he did with as much versatility as he has.
Yeah.
And he's good. He's a good player.
He's played every single offensive. I think when we did the draft and they draft him, he has played every single offensive line position, I believe, at some point in his college career.
Well, he has. I tweeted this out. Look at this. He's played 3 seasons at LSU, 2 at Florida International, started in 50 of 54 career games. So he's had a ton of starts. Look at it. 27 starts at right guard.
There we go.
11 starts at left tackle.
There we go.
Starts at left guard. 2 starts at right tackle. He allowed 0 sacks in 2024 at LSU in the SEC, earned the 6th best pass blocking grade in the country, allowed only 4 sacks on over 1,500 pass blocking opportunities.
Can I throw something out there? Because I think this is such an interesting thing. Am I crazy to think? I know he's just coming off an injury, and maybe it doesn't happen this year. Future of the offensive line for the Detroit Lions. Could I please just right tackle Penei Sewell, center Tate Ratledge, left guard Christian Mahogany, left tackle 1st round draft pick 2025 or 2026, at right guard for your Detroit Lions for the next 10 seasons. Give me Miles Frasier. Come on, man. That's exactly who I want, man. Throw that man. You don't have to throw him at right guard this year. You throw him at left guard if he gets healthy. But I do think it's interesting that Dan brought up today. Did you see in the press conference talking about Miles? I don't know. Maybe the Lions tweeted out the clip. Let me check here real quick. But him kind of breaking down the Miles situation, just being like, hey, this guy has everything that we want in an offensive lineman. He's very versatile. He can play every position. And he's kind of compared him to last year with Christian Mahogany, how they feel like he could play. He just needs to kind of get in there. Like Christian Mahogany, people don't forget, like he didn't really start. Like everyone was like on Twitter being like, well, Miles Frasier hasn't played football in this amount of time. Like Christian Mahogany didn't either. He missed all of training camp. He missed like the first 4 or 5 weeks of practice of the regular season. And they finally brought him back. And it took him maybe 3 or 4 weeks to get his feet under him and get back in shape and to learn the system. But when he did, remember, like he instantly, there was a game where he had to step in and play. And everyone was like, Christian Mahogany, he barely practiced this year. And Dan essentially was just like, last year, he's progressing very, very fast. And it was because he started for 4 years at Boston College. Like he was experienced already. I feel like it's the same thing with Miles Frasier. Like you desperately need depth, right? Yes, he came back to practice today. I think in the next 3 or 4 weeks, you're probably not going to hear Miles Frasier's name. You might hear his name, but you're not going to see him touch the field or probably be on the active roster. But you know what you're going to hear? You're going to hear like this guy just keeps getting better every week. And it's going to come into like week 13, 14, and they're going to be like, this man's ready to go. And you need a left guard. And I wouldn't be shocked if week like 15, 16, if there's still no Christian Mahogany, you got Miles Frasier at left guard. I would not be shocked. I think I actually do think he's that good.
Yeah,
or he can be that good. His ceiling is that high.
I think clearly there's frustration. There's a lot of frustration from yesterday, but just kind of looking ahead, you can't change anything about yesterday. They didn't make a move. It is what it is. But what you can be excited for is a player that has extensive experience playing in the SEC, started at LSU, went up against some really good defensive linemen, has played different positions and has excelled and played very well.
Yep.
Is it, are we going to depend on a rookie? Kind of, but I think it's fair to say that he will hit the ground running because of what you said, because of what Mahogany was able to do. I think that's a great point. Because Mahogany did it last year, and I think Hank Fraley has shown us in the past that he can get these guys ready, man. Like, I think Miles Frazier can be an upgrade from Yodi? Yes, I do. I think he's just gifted athletically, physically. He's big. He's 6'6". He's got the length. That's why he can kick out to tackle. If there's an injury, he can play. And he actually spoke to the media today, and they asked him about his cardio, and he's like, dude, that's all I've been doing is my cardio, conditioning. Like, he's in game shape. He's ready to go. He's not ready to go and play right now because he just got back, but physically he's ready to go. There's still things he's got to get in the mix with. It's going to take a couple weeks. He's coming back. I wouldn't expect to see him probably closer to December, but when he does play, like, I think he has a ton of upside there. So I'm excited for Miles Frazier. It's not like all due respect to the great 6'8", 350, no gut Giovanni Manu. This man's played in the SEC and has went up against NFL defensive linemen. And
yeah.
He very,
I mean, people forget in 2024, last year when he played his final season at LSU, he did not allow one sack. And mind you, that's the SEC. That's some of the best edge rushers. That's some of the best defensive linemen that you're going to come across, right? Those are guys that are getting picked in the first two rounds religiously. And he did not allow one sack. His final season at LSU.
And that wasn't, by the way, with Jane Daniels' mobility, avoiding all these sacks. He had Garrett. And Garrett's
your guy. You love a good Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, he's but he's not as mobile as a guy like Jaden, so he's blocking. He did a really good job. He kicked out the left tackle in the bowl game because the left tackle, is it Emory Jones? I think his name is, that played for LSU. He didn't play. So he played left tackle in the bowl game. Like, it's I know Dan talked about too, like mixing up the O-line. I think that's all fugazi. I don't think they actually do something like that. I don't think you're going to kick Graham to left guard. I don't see that happening. So that would be actually bad at left guard. And did you see what Justin said about Graham? I didn't even know this. I know he's dealt with injuries, but apparently Graham has like a plate in his ankle, his left ankle. He got his ankle like destroyed years ago. And that's why when he plays left guard, his left foot's his plant foot. That's why he struggles on that left side because he has literally a robotic ankle. So that's why
insane. The fact that they had him at left guard with that situation.
That's why he struggled there rather than right guard or center. I mean, even though people get a little frustrated with him, but yeah, I don't see him ever. They brought it up to him. They're like, "What do you think about playing left guard?" And he was like, "What?"
Today they asked him.
Yeah, they asked him about like Dan potentially mentioning him playing left guard. He goes, "What? I didn't hear anything about that." And they're like, "Oh." Well,
that's not good.
Even though
good.
Dan might not have said directly he would play left guard, but he did say Tristan Colon might play some center, which would mean Graham would go unless you're just benching Graham, which they're not going to.
Well, did you our guys tweet?
No. Wait, what?
Let me pull it up. I sent you the tweet this morning.
Oh,
Jeff Risden.
Yeah. Yeah, I did message him, by the way. Shout out Jeff Risden. He don't check DMs, man.
Yeah, we got to get his number. We got to reach out and get his number.
But I did. You want me to pull it up? You sent me.
I mean, I think the Jeff Risden tweet. I don't think it's like, it's obviously that's what's going to happen. I think it's a little showing though that there are beat writers and people who cover the team where this thought does come across guys' heads. You know what I mean? Like that. Once you start hearing stuff, that means like. There's potential. Do you want me to read it here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Jeff Risden, Lions fans what is that? What's that word? by the
It's
way.
against.
Never. Okay,
I think-
against no O-line moves. Okay, so I was like, there was a moment just now. There was a moment. I'll tell you what. That I go, wow, my education has failed me.
No, I think that's an actual word.
My education has failed me. I've never heard of that word. Aghast?
Yeah, it is. It's an actual word.
That is shocking. I've never seen it.
Or shock.
Yeah, this is the very first time in my life I've ever seen that word. Ever. And that's not a joke.
It's aghast. And that's like,
yeah,
it means filled with horror or shock, man. What a word.
Have you ever seen that word?
No.
That's a first. This is one of the first times in my life since I was a kid that I've seen a word for the first time.
Yeah.
That looks fake. That looks like a different language to me.
We know Jeff wasn't making a mistype. It wasn't a mistype. All right. It wasn't.
Yeah, Jake Wagner. He said, well spent SVSU money. Yeah, I mean, I spent that much money to get a degree. I don't know what a gust is or a gust. I don't have an English major. I went to business school. I have a nice business degree. I know how to run a business, I guess, coming out of SVSU.
Well, yeah. Well, that's a word of the day. Word of the day.
I also just coached basketball. Corey's laughing in there. This is literally, it looks like a foreign language to me. I've never seen that word in my life. That is the first time ever. That is shocking. It's what you get for coaching basketball for 4 years while out of school and just focusing on
too many frat parties.
No frat. It was just too many hoops. I was in the gym too much. All right, Lions aghast. No O-line moves. My thoughts. Nobody better than Tristan Colon was available. Consider him the new offensive line. I would start Colon at left guard. I think that's Yodi. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm just going to go Yodi at center. Is that Yodi? Gaquin or Gakun?
No, that's Kingsley.
Kingsley. Oh my gosh, I'm messing everything up today. This is a disaster for me.
You wanted to read it.
I know.
Hey, shoes on the other foot today. Huh?
I was pumped up to read it too. Move Glasgow to reserve. Jeff Risden says, "We know GG ain't no more. Let's see what others can do." I'm not hitting that word either, man. This is unbelievable, bro.
This guy said, "We know GG."
Oh my gosh, this tweet really just
You might
took.
be the first podcast host with CTE I've ever met, dude.
I for sure have CTE from high school. Do you know how many times I had concussions? Oh my gosh, you know how many headaches I had at football practice? Of course, that Booner ate a special brownie. I've never gotten beaten up by a tweet so bad in my life, man. This thing has absolutely KO'd me, man. Oh my gosh. Woo. All right. Well, Chef, if you want to read the tweet, you can. I'm out. I'm out on the tweet. I'm gonna finish it. Suboptimal, but something. There we go.
That's a good one.
Woo.
Suboptimal. Yeah, that's a good one.
Titan said proof that anyone can be a YouTuber. Hey, work hard. You work. I will say this. This is a real thing in life, man. If you're not good at something, it's pretty easy to cover up things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not a great reader, and I'm not going to lie about it.
Well, essentially, Jeff's suggesting benching Graham. I mean, that's essentially what this tweet is. I mean, benching Graham, having Cologne play guard, and then having Kingsley at center,
Kingsley actually I don't think has been bad at center in the past, right?
He was there in training camp. They like him a lot.
He was their second string in training camp. I remember watching him a lot. Thought he was good.
In training camp. I know Tristan Colon played in. I meant preseason. Played in preseason. I know that Tristan Colon, they like him too, because he's got versatility. He's played guard and center as well. So I don't know. I don't know. This is where the coaches know more than. I mean, in this instance, I don't know like what Kingsley has shown in practice. I don't know his skill level. I'm not watching Kingsley film. I don't know.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know how good he can be. And I don't really know what to expect from a guy like Tristan Colon. I would like to think that Graham, even though people want to go at him, is probably your best option. I know Nick Peace says he says Kingsley was a great center for Florida, gave up a sack in his college career. See, like I
thought at training camp, the times we watched him, I know he was going up against the second team. I always thought he was pretty decent. And obviously we didn't get to see him with first team snaps and in those joint practices. didn't get to see him go up against the Dolphins ones and such, but I still think that he's a solid choice. I do think Tristan Colon might be the better option if you're going to kind of throw someone in there at center, just because he has actually started in the NFL at that position. He has experience. Yeah. And I think I think that's a little bit more reliable than someone who's like kind of getting thrown into the fire for the first time, especially if you have someone on the roster who's already kind of stepped into that role. Because was Tristan Colon, was he this center? Was it, I don't want to mistake and get the wrong team. Let me double check. Where did he start at center for a little bit?
He was with the Ravens, I think.
I think it was the Ravens he started at center.
And
he started 7 games last year for the Cardinals, which I know they weren't great, but he started at right guard for the Cardinals last year. So I wonder if you could throw him at left guard even.
Yeah, the thing I question with like maybe a suggestion like what kind of Jeff said with Kingsley playing center is that even though he is a true center as opposed to Tate Ratledge, so Tate would have to learn the position, and I know that Kingsley mentally is already ahead of where Tate would be because he's played center, so he knows what it takes and everything. I still would like to think that you want some experience at center. I know it's you. I mean, people start rookie center. I mean, you could start a rookie center and have some success. I'm not saying you every center needs time, but my point being is, you think for an offensive line that has talked about miscommunications or trying to pick up blitzes like they struggled against the Vikings and doing that you'd probably be more hesitant to start a guy that's never played in a game before. You know what I'm saying? Like they'd be a little more hesitant going with Kingsley, and he's a little more inexperienced, but maybe he's just super farther along than we think. But that's where I would probably lean, is like, as much as people want to go at Graham, like he's played a lot of center. He's been with this. There's a lot of cohesiveness with this O-line. All offensive line play is based on chemistry and, cohesiveness and guys, kind of knowing what each other's going to do. And then you just bench Graham and start 2 new players. Like,
I don't see that happening. I honestly, before he got benched, I could see them actually moving him to left guard before benching him. Personally, I could see that happening.
I think they roll out the same O-line and just put Yodi there this week. That's what I think.
The only problem though is like I do think Tristan Colon. I know Yodi. Like Yodi stepped in. He stepped in some big spots. Yodi has. Like, he really has for you in the past. I just think like Tristan Colon. I mean, that man does have 16 career starts. I know that's not like that. He's played 6 years, so it's not that crazy. But he has almost a full season if you add it all together of career starts and experience. To where I don't know, like with Yodi. I'm not sure the full amount, but he has started with this team and this offensive line in the past. So I do think he has kind of a little bit of it
in there, in my opinion, unless they feel just better already than he is. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, it's just, you need someone to just kind of hold it down until Miles is ready. And I'd like to think that it'd be probably Cologne or Yodi. Because at least, like you said, you mentioned this yesterday, like Yodi started in an NFC Championship game. Like he's played, he replaced Jonah Jackson in that.
He wasn't like the worst either. He wasn't a reason you lost, right? He stepped in and actually played decent for you.
For sure. And so it's the offensive line. That's how I think it's Cologne or Yodi, but they'll probably keep a similar looking offensive line this week, in my opinion.
For sure.
He also, Dan talked about, shout out to, we'll have the doc on in about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes. And we'll definitely bring it up to him because he had his questions, man. He asked Dan just straight up about F them picks, like just a very direct question about the F them picks mentality. And Dan spoke about different things involving Isaac Tesla, which I do want to get to a little bit and talk about Isaac because he played 3 snaps last week and he played 3 snaps week 1. So I don't know what's going on with Isaac Tesla. It ain't like he's progressing. It's not on Isaac, but they're not really involving him as much as probably people think. Now that we're like 9 weeks into the year, but the F them picks mentality, I don't think the Lions should be trying to adopt the F them picks mentality. I think that gets lost in translation when I have these hashtag crash out Jeff moments and I'm pissed off and frustrated. I'm not demanding Brad. It just gets irresponsible and trades away all these first round picks. I don't think that's probably the smart thing to do. But Dan did share his thoughts on it. And, he did kind of provide a little context to, him and Brad they probably have more conversations than people think about certain moves. Like there's probably been conversations about big moves that no one knows about that they ultimately decided not to do. But here's Dan Campbell on that question. Shout out to the DOC man for asking it because it's been everywhere. But here's Dan on that.
Do you ever think that he might ever take a F them picks approach and just give multiple picks up for high impact, high intensity players? Because a lot of fans are thinking about that.
Well, I think that, man, if everything about it was right, you know, when you start talking like that, like throw all the picks away, that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of capital, especially with the guys that we've got that we're signing and we want to continue to sign to keep what we have intact. You know, now you're not only you're throwing the picks, you got to pay that player too, probably. Otherwise, why are you throwing all the picks at a guy that you're buying him for a year? And so then it really kind of everything that we planned for, you just might as well throw it in the trash, you know? So I don't want to say never. There's not a never. I mean, look, Brad and I have had conversations about, this isn't like we just say, well, what if, no, we're not even going to talk about that. We talk about everything. We do. We sit there and, I mean, we've thought about that before. What if we did this, this, and this? I mean, these conversations come up, but he and I both agree that this is how we proceed, man. This is how we go about our business, and we have a long-term approach. But I'll never say never.
Hey, we'll never say never.
I do think, okay, I get what you're saying too, Jeff, because at some point maybe you do have to make that move. I really do believe, Dan, I feel like they have had moments to where they have had conversations about going all in. Example, and like Corey's in the chat, Doc's in the chat, Dan and these guys I don't know if they've mentioned it straight up, but there have been rumors around the NFL where you've heard of Brad Holmes making calls for Trey Hendrickson. Right, like just recently, they've made calls and reports have been by Diana Rossini that he's made calls at the trade deadline last year. It was known and it was rumored that Brad made calls about Max Crosby, about Myles Garrett, and about Trey Hendrickson. So I do think there is actually a world where they do want to be aggressive. I tend to lean towards the side where you kind of lean a little bit, Jeff, to where it's like, when will Brad make that move? And is maybe he a little bit hesitant because he might be a little worried of the backlash or just being, I don't want to say being wrong, but more so making the mistake and messing up what he's built. Because he has built an absolute, you know, I mean, this man's built a castle inside like an anthill. Like it's incredible what he's built in like the Allen Park, where how many regimes have come in and tried to build what Dan and Brad have built, and it's just fallen apart every single time. And they've built it. And maybe there's a world like you say, Jeff, where he's hesitant to do it. He is. And it's like at some point, boom, you got to be able to pull the trigger and kind of make that risky move. Just like Howie Roseman said, where it's like, hey, you don't need to be Howie Roseman, the full aggressive guy, but there are going to be moments within your career and what you're building to where you do have to do that. You do have to be able to go and be like, all right, it's time. Let's make one big move here. It felt like you could argue that yesterday could have been that. Right now, we don't know. Again, I think the biggest thing is like we just don't know what was available. And like Dan said, like there were deals brought to us. It just wasn't worth it. So maybe as everyone's like, all these guards were available. Maybe it wasn't the guards we all thought they were, and the prices for them weren't. You know, and you know that's just what it is, and we'll never know. The only people who know are the guys in the front office in there that are in that room and are taking those calls. But you would have to assume that some of those guys are available, and you would be able to kind of like, hey, let's pull that trigger. Because Will Birchfield said it perfectly on Lions Collective earlier. Like, this feels like a perfect time to where you are actually beat up at that left guard spot. You could go out and get a starter, and it felt like there were some available. And whether you want to make the argument, which I kept hearing about Dan feels more comfortable with guys who have been in the building and have worked with this team already, to Will's point, like, you bring a veteran in, a legit veteran who has started 5, 6, 7 years in the NFL and is very good and has the talent. By the time December comes around, you have a really good offensive line at that point. Like the ceiling is way higher than it is right now with a guy like maybe Kingsley or someone else who just doesn't have every single trait, but can help you kind of get there until a guy like Christian Mahogany gets back. So I see what Will's saying, and I'm with you on that too with the Howie thing. Like at some point, maybe Brad's just a little hesitant about it. He's going to have to make that big move. He's going to have to.
Yeah, no, Corey provided some context. This is what Dan said about Kingsley. He said Kingsley has improved, and we've said it all along for him. It's just about being it's just about the anchor for him. He's not a huge guy, but he's got to make up with his quickness, his smarts, his aggressiveness. So I agree, and it's a lot of, like you said, what Will kind of already talked about today on Lions Collective, which you guys can check out. And I think what Dan's saying is fair. Like they don't want to give away all these picks. I'm not saying you got to be Les Snead and not have a first round pick for the next 4 years. I think my gripe isn't even about this deadline. It's really about Brad's entire tenure, that it's just never really been in his DNA to make a big splash or maybe be aggressive. And I'm not saying, again, that you trade for a guy that needs to be paid. It has to be smart. Maybe it's trading for a rental, and he did do that with Carlton Davis. He did do that, so that I would count that as a move. Carlton obviously is starting corner. He didn't end up extending him, so they. By the way, he said that in August, Dan, about Kingsley. Just context for that, but he's done it. He's made moves. But I just like to think that in the future there's going to be a time, and Justin Rogers talked about this too today on Lions Collective, that maybe not now, but in the future there will be a time where maybe the Eagles are to where Brad's like, hey, we're tied up right now with money. It's time to be aggressive. It's time to chase this thing. And I'm just, based on like history in the NFL, like taking risks, smart risks, calculated risks, benefit. It's like fortune favors the bold. It's like that.
Yeah.
Right there.
When do you think that comes though?
But what'd you say?
Just when do you think that comes? Because I heard Justin say that. I think that's a good point from Justin, to where like how he did have to wait. Like when you do build a team, you do have to wait to a certain point to be able to make those moves. Like you can't have a bunch of guys, like you guess you could on rookie deals and be aggressive and trade for guys and then let guys walk. But like I see what Justin's saying. It feels like the fact that you've paid 7-8 guys already, or whatever the number is,
nearing that point.
You're there. Like in my opinion, I don't even know if you're nearing it. Like you're there. Like you now know what your core is. You have the guys that you're going to roll with in the, for the next 4 years in the building. This is like if I was going to say, hey, when does it start that you're in a real Super Bowl window and it's time to win a Super Bowl? I know last year people would argue last year with the defense and the injuries, I would take that out. It's this year. Like you're there. Like this is a year, like the NFL is wide open. You have one of the best rosters, and you're talking about weapons in the completely all around in the NFL. Some of the best defensive players in the NFL. You've signed majority of them to long-term deals. You're there now. So every year now you don't win a Super Bowl or you fall short, it's a wasted year in my opinion. And it's not a bad, like I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm not. Maybe it is a bad thing, but like I said this like yesterday to you after the deadline closed and we had the conversation. The goal is no longer like, hey, let's just hope we get to the NFC Championship game like we did 2 years. Like you've done that, and you've signed all these guys, and you have your roster. So like it has to like, hey, you got everyone in house now. You have everything you need. Now, if there is, even if you don't have the holes for it, go out and get upgraded positions. You know what I mean? Like go out and find that. That's how I look. I feel like this is that year where it starts.
Yeah, I know. It's. They still have a couple players they have to extend. I'm curious. The thing I'm curious about is if you're able to keep the guys that need to be extended. I don't know. I mean, how they structure the contracts, it's similar to how Howie does it, which they just backload all the money. That's basically
where you restructure or you extend again for a second time, and
Kirby's backloaded, Aiden's backloaded, Goff's been like his money's like backloaded. They just push all this money back, and and at some point the bill's going to be due, and I think that's kind of what they're referencing is like there'll be a time where you kind of are cap strapped. I am curious, like Jack's going to command top dollar. I mean, Jack, we know. Yeah. Jameer, no question. Sam Laporta, no question. I mean, Trey McBride just got $20 million, so you don't think Sam's going to want around that same number? I mean, Sam's a very good tight end, so yeah, I'm curious. I mean, you have to still extend those guys, and let's say you hypothetically can't. That would make the argument even better to go and make. Hey, we're
those not moves so you can do it now, right?
We have them right now. They're all here. It's like, why are we even thinking? And I said this yesterday. Why are we even thinking about replacing these guys right now? You have them under contract for 2 years. Like,
can I ask also another scenario with this deadline?
Yeah.
If the Lions didn't trade up and trade 2 third-round picks for Isaac Tesla, do you think Brad would have made a move? I'm not saying for a wide receiver. Take no wide receiver. I'm talking about offensive line or whatever position. Do you think if he had those 2 thirds in his pocket yesterday, which he didn't have, he didn't have any thirds to send anywhere yesterday. So he's working with second round. So he's either overpaying or he's working with fourth round picks and below to where he has to underpay. Do you think if he had 2/3 yesterday that he would have actually dealt for a player and he would have been able to get a deal done?
I don't think so. And the only reason why I say that is because we didn't see a lot of offensive linemen get traded. But again, but we don't know. To your point, maybe
we could have been the team that needed it, that wanted it.
Maybe there was a team that would have dealt a guard. We don't know for a third round pick. I don't know, actually, to be honest. I think I
think it's an interesting thought because that feels like third round picks are at the trade deadline. We talked about this. I said it the other day. We talked about this right after the draft. Me and you were in the draft or on the show talking about the Tesla thing, and our comments were literally those thirds you just gave up. Those might bite you in the what come trade deadline time because you might need those. Those are valuable at the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. I think the more confusing thing to me, to be honest with you, is trading up for Isaac Tesla and then giving JMO the money. I don't know. I still don't really understand. You think the world of this player, and now he's a wide receiver 3 for the rest of his contract. It's I don't know. It's weird to me. But regardless, I think Isaac Tesla could be a really good player. I guess that just kind of, I don't know, just kind of confuses me. But I at the end of the day, you do have a ton of players that are very good. All right.
Yeah.
It's really just. It's just the hole on this roster. I don't want to say it's a hole like a massive hole, but it's I mean, on a good roster, it is a hole, is the offensive line and how they're performing, and then you lose Christian Mahogany. So I mentioned it. My Super Bowl confidence goes down because I think when you get into the playoffs and you face these great front sevens like this O-line, at least what it's shown so far, does not give me a lot of confidence. All right, running the ball, protecting Goff, doesn't give me a lot of confidence. So hopefully in December, with Miles Frasier being added or whatever, guys, maybe Tate Ratledge becomes an even better player. Graham plays better. I don't know.
The stat
play better, but
the stat that was given out today by Will Birchfield might have been one of the more shocking stats. I don't know if you have the exact number, but him essentially he brought up a great point. And I've died on the hill that I do think, and I'm not even dying on the hill. I think it's kind of a fact that this team relies on run first and opening everything up with that run game, and obviously the play action, and that's kind of how this offense is predicated, is kind of opening it up with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And over the last 5 games, the Will Birchfield stat, which every time you guys do that show on Wednesday night, he comes with a stat that he should make, and I'm gonna request this. We need to have a group chat of Will Birchfield in it. I just want him to drop a new stat in there once a week. It's incredible. But he brought up that the last 5 games for the Detroit Lions, if you take away the 76-yard touchdown from Jahmyr Gibbs, which again, that's really one play. So you take one play away, right? If Calvin Shepard's allowed to take plays out, we're allowed to, as the media.
Fair.
So if we take away the 76-yard run from Jahmyr Gibbs, the Detroit Lions, I think he said they average 3.4 yards per carry, which would be dead last in the NFL during that span. Dead last. That is one of the most, for a team that's supposed to be one of the best running teams in the NFL, you have a top 3 running back and you have probably the best RB2 in the NFL. If you take away that biggest run, to be dead last in the NFL at yards per carry over the last 5 games, that is, in my opinion, embarrassing. It's embarrassing, I would say, for the O-line, running backs, coaching, all you are one of the best running teams in the NFL, and you are running for 3.4 yards per carry. I don't think people realize how shocking that is and how bad this run game has been over the last 5 weeks. It's insane. When I heard that, I was driving, I almost drove off the road. I thought I was hallucinating.
Well, then this ties in what Steve just put in there. 2024 to 2025 rushing yards per game, 146 to 125. Okay, passing yards per game, 277 to 225. Sacks, 1.94 a game up to 2.25. So yards down, sacks up, and that has to do with a lot of things. I agree with you. It's offensive line. I think it's coaching. I think it's the running backs. It's I don't think they're playing well. David Montgomery's not playing well. And honestly, we talked about this today too. I think it was an interesting point that was brought up. They're facing more stacked boxes than they've ever had before. And is that because of not having Frank Ragnow? Maybe does that have to tie into that? I don't know. Defenses are stacking the box against these running backs. They're probably thinking to themselves, A, we know your offense is based on the run, but two, we want to, you need to show us you can block these. You can block us. You need to prove to us you can block us, and we're going to stop the run and we're going to blitz you, and it's working. I don't know, like they're struggling. And then timing. It's a timing offense, and timing's disrupted, and that's why you have all the problems they have. So it's a lot of different things.
That's why you get in those 3rd and long situations, because you can't run the ball on 1st down, can't put yourself in a good position to convert on 2nd down, or put yourself in the 3rd and short on 3rd down, and then you're sitting there with a million 3rd and longs, and guess what you're not doing? You're not converting those. And it's a recipe for a disaster. Mm-hmm. And if you keep if this pace up next 5, 6, 7 weeks, you're going to make the playoffs. Like you're still a good team, and you can cover your mistakes up, but only up to a certain point. Once December and January comes around, you get into a little bit of that becomes an issue. It really does.
Yeah, Steve says, Hefe, did you just blame Montgomery? No, I don't mean to blame Montgomery. I mean, it's just like that's the thing that's Jeff. Confusing is it's hard. You can't really blame Montgomery. I might have misspoke there, because he looks so good in training camp. Like he looks in great shape. Like it's not even like the guy just came into the season out of shape. It's just I think it's a mix of the O-line and whatever percentage you want to give it. You want to say it's 75% O-line, 25% coaching. You want to say, or John Morton, you want to say it's 50-50, whatever. Those are the two things I think are the problem. It's the lack of offensive creativity, and it's the offensive line. They can't block anything. It's just a mix. I mean, it's a problem. And I don't know. Like, do I believe that a blowout this week will change my mind? Not really, because you're not measuring this team against the Commanders. Like, you're not like, I think the Eagles game will tell you more. Eagles will tell you a lot. I think the Rams game will, the Packers game will, I think
you're going to find out by the end of November, by December 1st, you're going to find out what this team's really about.
For sure.
Moving forward.
Yeah, that's
definitely. You're going to know a lot.
Yes. Now John's going to join us. John Maakaron, the publisher of Detroit Lions or Sports Illustrated, Detroit Lions on SI, does a great job. Joins us every single Wednesday. Very opinionated. He's the man. He's going to join us in about a minute or so. But first, stick with us. We're going to hear from our sponsors over at Sleeper. I've interrupted the video to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper in the new promotion they have going on. A brand new promotion is now live on Sleeper that could be paired with the 100% deposit match promotion that's already been going on. It's a free $20, no deposit required. Plus, first-time users will also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Use the code CT Sports. You guys should already be using Sleeper. It's one of the fastest organically growing fantasy platforms in the entire world, with millions and millions of active users. They are crushing it. And if your state allows it, you should be using Sleeper Picks. It's a real money product that connects friends over picks. You just choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live, or across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats. And on Sleeper, you can get up to 1,000x payouts. Share with your friends. Get rewarded together. Don't forget, code CT Sports. Get a $100 deposit up to $100, and you got your free $20 entry. Sleeper is taking care of their customers. Always remember, gamble responsibly. Now let's get back to the video. All right, John Morton. John
Morton's not joining the show.
That'd be nuts, actually.
That would be, imagine, especially after the last few weeks having John Morton on the show.
John Morton speaks to the media tomorrow, so.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be a good one to tune into.
By the way, too, I like John Morton.
Yeah, you're a little more confident in him than I am. I'm a little bullish on him. I don't think he's a bad coordinator. I just think he's obviously a downgrade from Ben, but I think there's just a couple things that I think he needs to just iron out, which by the season he can do that. I'm not giving up on him yet.
There's a chance though that this thing keeps going the way it does and he loses out.
And now
he loses his job.
And it's a tough job. This is the thing. All right. People think like you have all these weapons. It's easy. It gets hard because the standard is Ben And Dan and Ben, especially when Ben first got here and he made him offensive coordinator and they have all these weapons Brad's given this offense. They've been such a high-powered offense that whoever steps in, that's the expectation. Like, you need to keep this thing humming. Even if you lose Frank Ragnow, I get it. Or you lose Kevin Zeitler. Like, you can't. This offense, we know it's an identity of this team. Like, if they dip in production and dip in different metrics, people are going to be pissed. Like, it's just not people.
I do think, though, with that, though, don't you think that there was going to be not maybe the dip that's happening right now, but there was going to be a dip because you didn't have Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler anymore.
Yeah, I guess there
was going to always be a dip throughout the season in this season compared to 2025 or 24.
I think they're a little behind what I thought. Like, I think I said top 7 in yards or something around there. I think they're 11th. So, are they bad? No, they're not a bad offense. I just think they're a little lower than maybe I anticipated.
Expectations. Yeah. I think they were always going to take a dip. What's happening, I think, the last 2 or 3 weeks, even though they've won games, right, and they're finding ways to win games, it is more concerning, I think, than
yeah.
And I honestly, I just think it's the offensive line concern. And it could be like with John Morton, it might not even be play calling. It might end, or I guess this goes with it. It might just be like the blocking schemes and like him putting the right personnel out on the field to make sure he's getting protection. Like, what protections are you putting out there? Because right now the protections obviously aren't working. Like, why are you putting Jameer? Like I said yesterday, like if Jameer Gibbs has been his bad blocking, like one of the worst running back blocking games that we've seen, I think since Easy tweeted out since like 2013, then like you can't continue to put him in that position throughout the game. You have to be able to see that and adjust and switch things up. So they do have to figure this. He's going to have to figure that out. By the way, I think we need to find the doc for being late going forward. I think that's fair.
Oh,
there he is.
There you go.
He texted me this morning. I texted him at like 7 a.m. And I texted Doc about something to do with like credentials, some different things. And he's like, "How did you know I was going to be up this early?" I said, "Doc, we work in the NFL. Like it's a 24-hour job." And then he goes, "All right, well, you have to buy me a New York deli." I think the doc for showing up late today to our show, I think he owes us New York deli. I don't even know what this New York deli is.
Yeah,
I said, "What deli are you taking us to?" And he said, "Or do you want me to go to?" He said, "The New York deli." What is that? I've never heard of that.
Let's ask the man himself. Absolute legend.
The man that owes us deli.
Covers the Detroit Lions for Sports Illustrated, host of the Lone Wolves podcast, and of course, Doc and Jock. And you can check out his YouTube channel, Detroit Lions on SI, which he has been crushing as well. He's in the YouTube space. Joins us every single Wednesday. John Maakaron. John, how we doing?
Fellas, how we doing? It's all good. Listen, let me apologize for being late. Let's back it up and tell everyone what happened. One of the beat writers' Twitter got hacked. So I don't want that happening to me, being that I got a fairly popular Twitter account. So I logged out and I changed the password. But on this computer, I have not signed back in. So you guys send me a link. So I had to email it to myself to get on here. So I'm ultra safe. I don't want you guys buying Bitcoin off of my Twitter if someone hacks into it. I don't want that happening to me.
Shout out Nolan.
That was a funny couple tweets.
Funny. I don't want that happening to me. So I'm ultra safe. So I might not use X on this very computer. And the New York deli is delicious. It's a local, great deli. It has good food, good rye, good sandwiches. And yes,
New York deli on you next
New York
time.
Deli, baby. We'll figure it out. Well, let's dine and dash it. Let's have some fun.
No, I'm not doing that. Can I ask? I don't know if you're allowed to say this. Do we know how these Twitter accounts are getting hacked? Do I need to change my password? Do we need to change crunch times? Or is it like clicking links? Because I did get in a message today on my Twitter. I'll go to it right now. "Hi, can I Cash App you some money?" And some SUM.
Listen, yeah, don't click on those things. I don't know in the world of the internet how I haven't gotten banned from X, from YouTube Lives. I don't know how I am still allowed to broadcast with the things I've said, done. But listen, we're all lucky to still be around. I've never been hacked, and thankfully, I hope that doesn't ever happen. But my goodness, it's a scary thing, and it's very important too. So I changed my password. Don't click on those things. I barely reply to DMs unless it's a person with a great profile. I'm very cautious.
Okay.
Very cautious.
All right.
Regarding keeping my stuff safe.
He goes,
Doc replies to every DM.
Unless the profile looks enticing for other reasons, Doc. Let me ask you this. We'll start with the deadline stuff. Lots to get to. Just your reaction. We talked to you, and you and me and Boone as well. You kind of align with a lot of what we think about being aggressive, not stupid. There's a balance, of course, but making moves when you need to make them. What's kind of your takeaway from the deadline? No moves from the Lions, nothing of significant, nothing of insignificance. I mean, besides Jack Conley being signed to the practice squad. But what was kind of your big takeaway, Doc, from yesterday's trade deadline for the Lions?
Yeah, no, it's I had the same reaction I think the majority of fans would have, is that you just felt like it was a wasted chance to get better. And it was wild because I felt like the football gods were trolling Lions fans and trolling me, because Dan Campbell and everybody said that there's only been a handful of offensive linemen traded at the deadline. Well, there was a combo guard tackle that was traded right at the end, and it wasn't even for a 2026 pick. It was for a 2027 late round pick. And then for all Lions fans, we just want, and fans, I think, in Detroit wanted our general managers to speak strongly. All of a sudden, a Howie Roseman video circulates online where he's like, I'm always going to be aggressive. I am never going to leave any stone unturned. I don't care if I fail. And you're just left feeling jealous because the Lions have taken a different approach. Now, we cannot say that approach that the Lions have will never work. But what Lions fans are waiting for, there is this growing sense of desperation that this football team is getting closer and closer and closer. Why doesn't the organization feel like they need to push a little bit and be aggressive? And look, there were deals to be made. It's clear. Dan said some things were brought to the table, but the Lions have a litany of things that they want to have happen. And I just think at the basic level, there was not a single starting offensive lineman that you felt could come in and be a little bit better than what you have. I think that there was. But what the Lions and Steve Yzerman and Scott Harris, they have their price. It's only going to be a 5th rounder. And if the team says, hey, we want a 4th, they say no. That's just clear. They're not willing to budge on right player, right fit, right deal, right contract. And the Lions and Dan Campbell, I give them credit for answering honestly, but I don't sense they're going to do a F them picks. Dan should not have said, his answer was perfect until he said, never say never. I think the fan base is clamoring for that because they've seen the Rams do it in 2021. They've seen the Eagles make some aggressive moves. I think they should just be honest and say, you know what? Free agency and trades are at the very back of our priority list. It's not going to be as aggressive as what you've seen, and trust it or not. But I think the fan base doesn't trust it as much because they've seen the Rams and the tie to Brad Holmes. They've seen the Rams F them picks. They went out and made moves, been bolder than the Lions. So the Lions have planted their flag. I hope it's successful. I just feel like it's not aggressive enough to alleviate the stress the fans feel that when you have an offensive line that played that bad, what we all just saw, I don't think they did enough to upgrade that offensive line to a championship level when you get to the playoffs. That's just how I feel right now.
Yeah, Doc, how do you feel about, I know you obviously there you said you don't feel like that they can play to that level of the offensive line. Going forward, how do you see them moving around this offensive line? I know Dan's talked about, moving Graham or just kind of trying different things with these guys they have. How do you see this thing kind of playing itself out? Who do you see stepping in? And do you actually feel like that this Graham, like they could end up moving Graham Glasgow to left guard?
Yeah, look, what's fun with Dan Campbell is a lot of what Dan says. I do think there's a portion of it that is gamesmanship. We asked Graham Glasgow, I wonder if it shows up on video, where a reporter asked him, hey, we've heard you might move to left guard.
It did, Doc. It did.
It's funny. He's looking at us like, huh? I don't think that. And so that didn't happen today in practice. We asked Tristan Colon, hey, how many snaps did you play? He's like, at center. Like you said, the normal, couple scout team reps. So they didn't really practice it all that much. It could be lying. I don't know if you would upset the apple cart to that degree. I think that you want to see some shuffling. I just think that we're going to see, in my humble opinion, based on just the way that the Lions have kind of worked things. I just think you keep everything the same and you just insert Coyote Awosika as the next man up. You don't upset the apple cart too much. One move. Because if you start shuffling, the starters had a rough time with all the reps. Now you start shuffling. I do think that it's good in practice to get those opportunities, but I think you want to keep it as symbiotic as possible. You hope that Graham Glasgow plays better, but I think the next man up mentality is going to be a factor here. So I would be a little bit surprised if you move Graham Glasgow. It's not a position that I think he likes at all to play.
Well, what'd you think of, I mean, just to ask you, Doc, the loss on Sunday against the Vikings? I mean, seemed like it was a 3-point game at the end, but it didn't feel that way watching the game. One of the worst performances, I think, in a long time. It just didn't look like the Lions team you typically see. They were bad on third down again. I think they were 5 of 17. They struggled to run the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs was quiet as well as David Montgomery. Dave Montgomery brought him a little more juice. But what'd you kind of take away from that loss? I know it's tough for Lions fans. You lose, and then you have the trade deadline they had, but what did that loss signal to you? What were some of your big takeaways from watching that Lions team?
Yeah, no doubt. If you guys remember last week's talk, it was funny. I feel like whenever I start sometimes elaborating on stories, stuff starts happening. Remember what I said? I had the team going 13-4, but then I said, you know what? There's always a game or two a year where you just play like absolute dog crap, and it's just a weird loss. I thought it would happen against the Giants or the Steelers or a different game. It happened. Now, watching it, it's infuriating because all the concerns that people have, it was a terrible watch. The offensive line made no adjustments. They kept going to a screen game to try and alleviate the pressure that was coming from the Vikings. That didn't work. So it was just a discombobulated mess. A lot of reasons for it. It was coming after the bye. The offensive line clearly didn't play well. Brian Flores, who has the propensity to be aggressive, he outcoached John Morton. The answers weren't there, and it was just a complete collapse. It's one of those games where the game plan wasn't great, the coaching wasn't great, no great execution, and on top of that, the cherry on top, you get a field goal block. Typically, the offensive line, typically special teams has been okay, but it's been the last couple weeks a little bit inconsistent in regards to the opponent getting quality field position. So that game was just, and listen, that's not the Lions. That's not how we would judge them, but it was pretty bad because it was all three phases. The Vikings were desperate. So it was kind of what you would call a perfect storm for a loss. Now they're going to come back. Luckily, for some reason, the luck has now bestowed on the Lions that they're going to face a Commanders team that has a lot of guys hurt, including their quarterback, who really shouldn't have been in the game. So they're going to get right pretty quick. But now you're at the portion of the year where we're going to start to get some real answers as to the biggest thing that we all care about. The reason why people get mad when they lose is the smart fans in Detroit are analyzing, and that's why people got mad about the trade deadline, is after a bad loss, after the key to the success of the offensive line played bad, you didn't really address it to the degree that many people felt was adequate. Many people feel like the Super Bowl stock has kind of gone down, and you're going to get probably a win this week, but you're going to have a big test against the Eagles. That's going to be a Super Bowl litmus test. I can't wait to see it. I want to see how the Lions offensive line handles the pressure that Vic Fangio is going to bring. I don't want to see Jalen Phillips sacking Jared Goff. That's the last thing I want to see. I don't want to see Devonta Smith breaking through the secondary. I want to see the Lions go toe-to-toe with the Eagles and look like they could compete in an NFC championship game. Because to me, I'm going to just stick with how I've always looked at it. To be the man, you got to beat the man. The Eagles are the man until they're booted from their throne. And I think that it's a 3-horse race in the NFC. It's the Rams, it's the Eagles, it's the Lions. And I want to see how the Lions adapt with some of these moves. But right now, the biggest focal point to me, that offensive line's got to figure it out. Like, you can't make an adjustment on the most basic defensive blitz that people have, the interior A-gap blitz. That's crazy. That's weird. That's unusual for Graham Glasgow, Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge. They've seen that stuff before from their own team. To not be able to adapt live. And guys, it's very unusual. It's highly unusual to have communication problems in your own crib. Like, it's silent. It's radio silent. There was nothing going on. And to be able to not communicate to the level of an NFL offense was quite unusual.
Yeah, Doc, one thing I do want to ask you, because Jeff said John Morton actually speaks to the media tomorrow. As a whole, kind of moving forward with John Morton, what's the confidence level and what's the timetable? If this offense, and I know the offensive line, like you said, and we've been talking about, is beat up and it's not the same offensive line as it has been in the past. But what's your confidence level in him kind of being able to take this offense back under control and getting this thing going? And again, the timetable for him, like, hey, you have until this week to be able to get this thing going. And if it's not, obviously, whether we have to make a move or Dan's got to step in, how do you see this whole thing playing out with John Morton?
Yeah, no doubt about it. First thing and foremost, I'm very thankful that, when he was hired, I presented the full picture. I didn't shy away from saying that there was a reason he was fired from the Jets. I shared the article from ESPN. It said the reason he was fired is he did not develop a run game. He became predominantly heavily focused on the pass game. There were games where the Jets would be in the red zone at the 5-yard line and he would call 3 pass plays. And so it just never got going. It didn't work out. He was one and done with the Jets. And here you've now seen the run game over the course of 5 games have an average that's below what they've been used to. So for the Detroit Lions, the running game has not been as elaborate as it should be. It's taken a step back. The blocking has taken a step back. That's on the offensive coordinator. That's scheme, that's attention to detail. First and foremost, when you see the play in the game that bothered me the most was the play in which 2 players shift at the same time and you get a holding call. That's a complete collapse of discipline, collapse of on-field awareness. That should never really happen to this offense with those players. So John Morton's got to get it together, and he's got to get these guys playing in the right fashion, and it will happen. It'll get steadily better. I do think that when this offense knows that it's so important to run, not a lot of teams are going to be able to play as well defensively as the Vikings, but those teams will be in the playoffs. So you got time is what I'm saying. You're going to have some easy wins built into the schedule. So you have time to figure this out. But the concerns, the one thing that people had concerns about with John Morton have started to showcase themselves. It's a learning curve. It simply is that. He's not Ben Johnson. And that's part of the reason why I asked that question. And remember, I didn't say, can you run the same offense? I said, is it feasible to run the same offense? Does this offense look like last year's offense? No, it's not really feasible. You have different players. You have different schemes. You have a different offensive coordinator. So now you have to adapt. So basically, John Morton answered the question. You cannot replicate what Ben Johnson did. Ben Johnson was a wizard. We have to give him the credit where it's due. John Morton's got to figure out his own lane, which is, hey, when you notice some of your plays aren't working, I know you're dedicated to certain plays in a call sheet, but if your screen game is inconsistent, stop calling it. Like the crowd was booing certain plays. That doesn't typically happen to the Detroit Lions. So for John Morton, he's learning on the job. And, he's great at game planning. He can pick apart weaknesses, but what he's got to adapt to at this level is how do you adapt to the, adjustments that people are making to you. Now, adjustments have been made. Teams have figured out, hey, let's try to test the interior. Let's try to blitz a certain way. Let's try to play shell coverage. Let's take away Amon-Ra. Let's take away Jamison Williams. Let's let them do everything underneath and let them dink and dunk. We are not going to give them explosive plays. Well, you got to be able to force your way through that, setting up plays to eventually take your shot. You can't just always take what the defense gives you. And I really felt like if you guys get a chance, if they air it, David Shaw had a really, really insightful presser today where he said, look, we have a chance to be explosive. We shoot a lot of threes. He used basketball analogies. We can shoot threes. We can execute. We can move the ball down the field. But what we're not doing right is the mid-range game, like the jump shots, meaning like the intermediate stuff, like slants, dig routes, normal kind of 4-yard passes, the simple kind of stuff they're botching. They're botching screenplays. So they got to get it together, tighten the ship. But remember, they are 5-3. They got 9 games left to fix it with a schedule that can be favorable at certain spots. So you got to be peaking at the right time. And always remember that while this week is a little bit grim with some dark clouds, they're getting some guys back that'll make things a little bit better. If you up your defense, that could also help your offense. When you get DJ Reed back, when you get Davenport back for the 2 games maybe that he'll come back for, Josh Pascal started practicing. When you get some guys back, things could look different for this team. But you have to recognize John Morton is a concern. It's a pattern of play that we have to monitor because some of the numbers and guys, quite frankly, Dan Campbell has said for weeks now, we have an issue on third down. It hasn't been corrected yet. So, and it's gotten worse. So we got to figure it out so that they can make the push for the postseason.
Doc, you mentioned players coming back. A notable one, it seems that, especially now after the trade deadline, is Miles Frasier, the 5th-round rookie out of LSU, who's played, right guard, right tackle, left tackle, ton of versatility. What have you kind of seen behind the scenes of Miles Frasier and what the coaching staff has kind of liked about him? I know, Brad, they loved him coming out of LSU, slipped in the draft a little bit, but what are the Lions getting in a player like Miles Frasier?
Sure, no doubt about it. We're not going to see him for a while. He's got to get his feet under him. He's just now starting to practice. So let me tell you, first and foremost, I do want to address something that some people have said too in regards to those that support the way the Lions have done things. I don't typically care what other teams do other than the teams that win championships. What the Rams have done, what the Chiefs do. The Chiefs formula is quite simple. You get an all-world top 3 quarterback. You can build a roster however you want. You're not going to do that. You have Jared Goff. He's below Patrick Mahomes and always will be. So you're not going to really do a lot of that. That's wizardry. The Rams and the Eagles are similar to what you can do. And the Rams and the Eagles have drafted well. They've developed well. They have franchise quarterbacks, and they've been aggressive at certain spots. So those are only the teams I'm looking at. So everyone's like, well, only certain teams did this and that. You only need to care about the Lions. And I feel like everybody reasonably, if you look at it, would say they're not aggressive enough. Moves are made. It's not. Brad Holmes said something last year that makes no sense. Do you really think it was that exhausting to trade for Zadarius Smith? So what they're doing is they're doing a thorough evaluation. Is he psychologically fit? Is he a great guy? Can he handle the community? Is he going to be a factor? Brad Holmes sounded like he needed a vacation after trying to trade for one dude. Like, come on, man. Like, you can push the button. Detroit favors the bold. They're actually, listen, look at the reaction. For every one person supporting in the chat, there's 1,000 people pissed because fortune favors the bold. Be like Howie Roseman. Why would you say, I don't want to act like Howie Roseman? That guy is the OG of 2 Super Bowls, puts you in OG status. Copy him. Just openly say, we like what Howie's doing. We're going to do it. We're going to make moves. He whiffed on some of the biggest talents in the world, still built a roster, still super aggressive. They haven't needed defensive end. They have a 3rd-round pick to go get one. And they got somebody. Would you have been upset if they got Jalen Phillips, even though they took an injured guy? They took a Brad Holmes guy, So to me, look at what the best of the best do and see what you're not doing. And the fact of the matter is, I'm just feeling like I speak the way everybody else speaks, which is there's a portion of the formula that Brad's not doing. Free agency has been bad. Manuel Mosley, Cam Sutton. Some of those free agent moves have been botches, and the aggressiveness in the trade market hasn't been well. I feel like you have to have 5 tools to do it. You have to have 5 tools. Brad's doing 4 of them well. And I get it. Trust your own dudes, pay your own dudes. But I feel like if he got that point, he'd be right there neck and neck with Howie Roseman. Miles Frasier is going to be, I think, a nice combo person. Maybe the next center of the future. Gives you a guy that has an opportunity to be able to do some things. I think he's very physical. I think that there was a steal for the Lions to get him in the draft. The injury sucked, but I think that with development, this guy's going to be a potential person that can start on the offensive line. But this year is more of a red shirt kind of year for the dude, and it's good to see him out there. I would think that Tate Ratledge's first go around at center wasn't great. He's doing okay at the right guard spot, so I feel like Frasier might have a chance to compete to be the center, but it gives you options in the future if something happens to Tate Ratledge. If he's the future center, then you have the future right guard that can do some things. And most importantly, he's good against the run, needs work in pass protection, and getting experience over the next month or two. I would think that he's not going to play until December, but I think it's a great thing. It's an option. And, listen, the one thing that Brad Holmes, which I wish he would have talked, he could have given us an elaborate, better explanation than me. I tried to get him on my podcast, but the Lions were open to tell me he's not doing your podcast and he ain't doing any media. I said, is he going to do any media? Anything at all to talk? They said, nope, he's not going to do any talking. as of this time. So I could report that. Honestly, I tried to ask him opportunities to ask tough questions. He could have been like, listen, Doc, you're out there screaming for a Saints lineman on a team that wasn't that good. We got 5 different linemen that we think are better. A 23-year-old from Boston College that generates, seems like, offensive linemen out their ass. And, we got Miles Frasier coming back. He could have been elaborate and filled us in a little bit better, but he chose not to. And it favors me because, in my opinion, he's not going to want to stand in the kitchen and be like, listen, Howie Roseman does this, and I feel like you should do that too. Not to that same degree, but I would ask him some tougher type questions. But one day I feel like we'll have a sit-down conversation and get a little bit more of why you trust your own people when potentially there's opportunities to compete and get some competition with some other guys. Meaning, guys, did anybody think Sauce Gardner was getting traded? Now, I'm not saying Sauce, but open your mind and expand your mind. If the Lions offered 2 first-round picks, they could have really picked anybody. But the issue at hand, which Dan Campbell said, was, well, that's going to kind of put a pinch on the guys that we like, and it's going to hurt our cap. It's going to hurt our chances to win in the future, and da-da-da-da-da, and we take a long-term approach. So the Lions have declared their stance, which is we want sustained success, and we're not going to, probably push all in. Where the Lions fans are like, dude, you got 7-8 guys, $1 billion in investment, push. We want to push. We want to see what could happen. And I think the fan base would even take a push and a failure over, 4 or 5 years of just getting into the playoffs and exits. Like, push. You're right there. You got Goff. You have all pros all over the place. A couple aggressive moves for guys across the whole NFL. There weren't 3-4 players you felt you could bring to this team to make a push. Listen, and also, if you're a great drafter, it shouldn't take you 4 years to get back. You sacrifice next year and you draft 10 new guys and you're back in 2027. So I think at least in the end, the majority of fans that like this football team agree with what I'm saying. The minority is like, yeah, man, let Brad cook. Brad didn't cook nothing. He developed his team. It's a good team, but there are some holes at some spots where you think you could shore up. And also too, I'm always of the opinion more talent, more competition, more. And man, it would have been a fun opportunity if they would have got like a Reek Woolen, or they would have got Bitonio, or they would have got somebody else, bring back an Evan Brown. Hell, at the very least, I think the fan base would have at least slept comfy if you brought back Kevin Zeitler. So something of a familiar move to kind of ease the fan base just a little bit. And but it didn't happen. I get the Zeitler explanation. You're not going to move everybody around. So whatever the case may be, Brad Holmes has declared my guys over the world. So we'll see if it works out. I just think more doubt has really, really crept in, and it's caused a lot of people to get really angry, as they should. The patience for sports fans is not that great anymore.
What do you think, too? This all kind of ties together, Doc. We have had this conversation about Isaac Tesla and the trade that Brad made in the draft to trade up for 2/3. And then obviously they haven't used him that much. And then this week, you guys asked Dan about Tesla, and he's like, yeah, we want to use him more. And they even talked about that in week 1 and week 2. Like, yeah, we want to use him more, and they really haven't. What are your thoughts on that? Because they pay JMO, they trade, they take 2/3 to trade up for a wide receiver. Then they pay their wide receiver too. And then they're not using him. And it's the second time this year that they have said, like, hey, we're going to use him more. What are your takeaways with that? Because it is kind of an interesting situation with that whole thing with the Tesla, the JMO contract, and then not really utilizing both of those guys really to their full ability.
Yeah, the whole Tesla thing's activated because if you're not using them, you've invested multiple 3rd-round picks. You could have used a 3rd-round pick in a defensive player or an upgrade, but you have a luxury pick. Now, look, first and foremost, it takes time in this offense to acclimate. Remember, Amon-Ra didn't start cooking until 9 or 10 games in that Minnesota game where the Lions won. It takes a little time with timing, with the route combinations, with knowing, hey, this is the check in from this route you got to read and see. So it takes a little time. But let me just back up. I know Tesla. I know for sure we're going to talk about Tesla. But also, guys, here's something that I've been percolating on, and I've said it, and I believe it. Brad Holmes also does not lack self-awareness. There is a reasonable expectation. He's never going to say it publicly. And maybe now he could say, because he doesn't want to talk to me personally on camera, maybe it's the truth. He looks at that offensive line. He's like, man, Taylor Decker's shoulder's bummed out. We didn't expect that. You didn't prepare for that. Graham Glasgow was older. We wanted to put him at center, but you know what? It's just not working. He's older. Doc's been writing that the interior of the offensive line has been a struggle since August. We're looking at it. It's a young offensive line. We got our best left guard is now out. We got to rebuild this thing, and we got some injuries. We don't know about DJ Reed, what it's going to look like. We got Marcus Davenport. That might be a mistake. Deep down, I think that there's a strong chance. You give Brad Holmes 3 bourbons, and he tell you, like, he doesn't think this team's a Super Bowl team this year. It looks like, hey, this is kind of a developmental year. Get this offensive line correct. Get this offensive line working. Figure out what the units are. Get it together. And then next year, as everybody gets better, you get Tesla, you get another draft class, you get Frasier involved, you get more people. I would think that, Brad Holmes may honestly think that this is not the year. He didn't answer my question when I asked him about the Super Bowl. Ray Agnew answered it. Brad just kind of, ducked down and kind of gave a real different answer than he's given in the past. So there's a chance in my mind that they don't think that this is a Super Bowl team. So why push all your draft capital when you can use it to upgrade the team even more? There's a chance that that's the case, that they honestly met and said, look, can we really win the Super Bowl based on what we have? It's going to be tight, but we'll try it, but we're not going to invest to push all in. It's not the all-in move. And that's what I believe. You have first of all, if you were all in, you don't make the Tesla. You don't need Tesla. You need offensive line depth. You need defensive line depth always. You could use another, safety, defensive back. You could do a lot of different things than using 2 or 3 third rounders to move up 30 spots to get a wide receiver when you got J-Mo and Amon-Ra. Typically, teams don't do that. Now, Isaac Tesla is going to be great. Or you make that move, but you don't extend J-Mo. You know what I mean? You save those allocations in the coming years for some guys that could be free agents in the future. So the moves don't exactly align with a guy that's going to push to go for it in 1 year. You see what I'm saying? So it's, you gotta look at it from that perspective, that things got to kind of fall in the Lions' way health-wise and some luck. But with Tesla, I think he's a good player. I think that he's developing, but it's hard to put the trust in a rookie when there's a lot of mouths to feed. And again, the offense runs smooth by getting Amon-Ra involved, by getting the run game going. And Isaac Tesla is a luxury, but yeah, he could definitely help with the explosive passing game, unlock some things a little bit. And I think that the crazy part is if the offensive line plays better, maybe you don't have to use 12 personnel so much. Maybe you go 4 wide and have a chance to run a different opportunity here. So we'll see how some scheme adjustments will adapt with this, but it all predicates from that offensive line. If they play as bad, that's why, first and foremost, that's so crazy to see. I don't want Jahmyr Gibbs blocking. I don't want Jahmyr Gibbs blocking 15 times in a game. My goodness. And then unfortunately, Dan's like, I think Dan said, he's like, he's got to do better. I was like, wow, man. They expect these guys, linebacker gets a 5-yard head start. You want Jahmyr Gibbs blocking. Oh man. It's going to be tight. It's going to be an interesting thing to pay attention to, but I can't wait to see how Isaac Tesla gets acclimated more targets, more primary reads, but in the end, it's a rookie year. So it's, I think it's just lip service to get people to stop talking about it. But I just don't think that that's the best way to win at this point in time. I think you got to figure out how to unlock J-Mo, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Sam Laporta. The first part of that game was crazy. You get 66 yards out of Sam Laporta. He's beautiful. Screen pass, beautiful. In the seam, beautiful. He's hustling, bustling, getting through. And then he goes radio silent the rest of the game. It's craziness that he didn't ride the hot hand against the Vikings.
Well, Doc, I'll just ask you now that we're after the deadline and the Lions are dealing with some offensive line issues. Where are you at with this team being a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Where are you at, Doc? Confidence level. Where do you think, if you had to do tiers, how confident are you that the Lions can ultimately still win the Super Bowl?
Oh my God, it's so funny. Real fast. ARF9 kind of went with a bit that I said on my show earlier today. I guess I hear some people are getting banned. Luckily, Crunch Time is still on the air, which is great. Doc is still on the air. Go back and listen. It's a bit. It's funny. But I offered my services. And you know what my service is going to be to the Lions? It's going to come at a price. But I'll be like, Brad, my man, you hit the draft. I'll watch all the NFL games, and I'm going to tell you who to stock up on, and I'm going to spend Sheila's money. I'm going to be like, Brad, you hit the draft. I'll hit the externals and the free agents, and I'm going to buy all these players and get your pocketbook ready and tell Sheila to sit here, and I'm going to start spending. And it was funny. It got some reaction. But what's funny is when people say stuff like that, like I should run the team. No, I just say I'm humble. I just say, and it really ties into how I started a podcast. I didn't just start a podcast and start working for Sports Illustrated. I went to who does the best podcast in the world. It was Adam Carolla. What did Adam Carolla do? He did a bunch of interviews. He did a weekly show. It was very consistent. It was very entertaining. And so I said, I'm going to copy that to a T, to an exact T. I copied Adam Carolla, and here I am. And so I'm of the opinion that, you follow the formula of people and at least copy the rhetoric. I mean, my God, didn't you think that was cool that Howie Roseman sat there? And maybe I'm a simpleton. He's like, I don't care. You need, and I followed the same suit. You think starting a podcast and taking, you don't think I took risks to potentially start a podcast and have success? You got to be bold. You got to try things outside your comfort zone. I never thought that YouTube would pay me money to use my ugly face to talk and make some money. I'm shocked. There's 4,200 people there that after the trade deadline, there were 2,000 people on Sunday on a Sunday night listening to me ramble on. I never thought that would ever happen. I thought, if I ever did it, 5 people would listen and they'd all say it sucked. But there are people that throw money at you to do this. I was shocked. So I was outside my comfort zone. But why? I said, F it. Jeff Booner does a good job. Lucas looks like they're having fun. A lot of people on the Lions content look like they're really enjoying this video thing. I'm like, yalla, jump in, do something outside your comfort zone. The Lions believe that drafting and developing with limiting trades is the way to go. They haven't won. All I can say is, how is it crazy to say into into a microphone, I respect teams that won a ring. I like to watch teams that have done it before and see what they do and steal it. And I truly believe it's not world-beating mentality. I truly believe to win a Super Bowl, you need a upper echelon quarterback, probably, in his prime. You need to have a nice offensive line. You have to draft well. You have to manage the cap. You have to develop I like how the Lions coaching staff is full of NFL players. You have to develop, keep your own guys, and you have to be an OG in free agency and trades. You have to have it all to give yourself a chance. Remember, guys, also, Dan Campbell stood up in front of everybody in 2023, looked real sad, and he said, man, I'm not certain that we didn't waste our biggest chance. Why? They had a young team. They didn't have to start paying everybody. There was a hunger. There was an innocence. They were rugged, us against the world mentality. Now it's tougher. Why is it tougher? They have to pay all these guys. They have to not be able to, they have to kind of focus away a little bit. And Dan Campbell said it today. They have to kind of lessen their priorities in free agency and trades. So that's a tougher hill to climb, especially when you have a maniac like Howie Roseman. That's an OG. So it's very tough to win a Super Bowl. And until the Lions do it, guys, remember, the Lions have never won a Super Bowl. I don't sit here and do the hopium thing. Until the Lions win a Super Bowl, we're going to pick apart every move and say, is it championship quality? Can it make them win? Why is this happening? This is the best part about football, is analyzing moves. And after a terrible loss where your offensive coordinator got worked by his counterpart on the other side's defense, I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up no one's butt. It's a little bit concerning. And especially when your quarterback needs the engine to look a little perfect. I want everything to be perfect. So what's more perfect? Add another offensive lineman, add another running back, add another tight end, add another receiver, add. I'm always of the opinion that you try and why would I not ask? I'm just sitting here talking. Brad Holmes' job is to go execute it. So we'll see how now, like I said, we said it last year. The draft and develop model is put to the test. Let's see. I'm more of the opinion fortune favors the bold, and you push and make some moves and see what happens. But that's just me. And to me, this football team has a legit, I said last week, when they're cooking, they have a chance. Unfortunately, there's a problem is they're not cooking because they're hurt. Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, Kirby Joseph is still hurt. So an injured, battered team. You guys in the internet world is funny to me. We'll sit there and type in, Doc, you're a big egomaniac and you have a big ego. People will text me that. But you guys think that you can weather injuries. You can weather injuries to your safety, to your left tackle, to your left guard, and still want to be talked about as Super Bowl contenders. Who's the egomaniac? You fans are crazy, which I love. But let's tone it down a little bit. They're in the mix. They're not in the Super Bowl favorites. In my opinion, injuries have kind of deflated some of the expectations. Some of the concerns that people had in the past are kind of showing up. And so it's a process. So we got some time to fix it. But when this team gets it right, when they are healthy, which they are currently not, as Dan Campbell said, they're not healthy. But if they are, I give them a decent chance to fight in battle. But I don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders. They're in the mix with the Rams, Eagles, and the Bucks and teams like that. They're in the conversation, but there is doubt. That's why people have a lot of anger and fear, because doubt has crept in.
What is your confidence level with this defense as well, Doc, going forward over the next 3 or 4 weeks? No one knows what's going on with Kirby. I know Dan kind of mentioned the whole knee situation with Kirby, potentially Josh Pascal back, Rodrigo potentially coming back as well. How do you feel about this defense? We've spent, it feels like, this whole week, everyone's just talking offense. But this defense has actually been kind of the heartbeat of this team, and they're about to add some pieces back, hopefully, here the next few weeks.
Yeah, man, it's good times. The defense has done a good job, man. It's a good time. It's a fun opportunity to look at this defense as they get better. Clearly, they're pressuring the quarterback. Unfortunately, their pass rush win rate numbers could be better. I think that they're happy with Al-Quadin Muhammad. They're happy with the combination and rotation that they have. I feel like Aiden Hutchinson's doing his thing. The defense, look, they're clearly hurting without DJ Reed and without Kirby Joseph. And Kirby Joseph still has the knee irritation. So I'm very satisfied. I think the biggest question marks are the offense, because Kelvin Shepard, I think, has kind of got the guys going to the best of his ability. I mean, look, smart football. The Vikings picked on Millette, and they found their guy. And look, even with all the nonsense that was going on, the Lions needed to make a play. But in an ideal world, you're not going to have Millette out there, covering one of the wide receivers of the Vikings. But man, that's what's unfortunate, is that a lot of the stuff you saw was self-inflicted. Man, it was just a weird game. We have all watched games like that, guys, where they would have, Jack Campbell can't get, the benefit of the doubt trying to tackle JJ McCarthy. That was a phantom call. I mean, there's no way he can't, they wanted him to land in a different way than what he tried to do. That was crazy. Aiden Hutchinson got his leg up, but come on, man, that was not intentional. You're at home. You should get the benefit of the doubt on certain calls. It was just one of those days where everything just was off. It was just, I feel like bye-week blues played a part in it, getting back into the rhythm of things. And also, too, man, the Vikings were desperate. Like, they talked afterwards. If you check out what Justin Jefferson said, they had a team meeting. They were desperate to get to 4-4, and that's what they did. There's just so much that goes into why a team loses, and there was a lot to it. But the defense has played well, man. You got to give credit. You got to give credit that some of the guys that have been given opportunities have stepped up. But listen, this is the regular season. That's a whole different animal. It's pretty straightforward. Even the simple-minded people in the chat at times could understand it. You really want to go into the playoffs with Nick Whiteside and Millette, or do you want to go in with potentially, DJ Reed, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, and, potentially somebody that could have come in that was an upgrade? So it's pretty straightforward. Next man up is great to say for the regular season, but for a championship team, let's get after it. And we'll see what happens. Good competition. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that when the healthy players come back, they stay healthy, and you do get some depth. And let's not forget, the Habibi's coming back, baby. The Habibi is coming back. Ahmed Hassanin put it up there on social media. You're all following it soon. And he never left Detroit, and he grinded, he's stronger. And I think the experience will harden him and shape his character, and he'll come back. And hopefully by the time December hits, maybe he can be a third down piece that can also add to the defense. So again, to me, the defense just needs to hold on. This team is going to go, the defense is going to play well. Calvin Shepard is not going to tolerate some of the mistakes that happen. They'll get them corrected. They'll play better. They have the capability, and they're a little bit healthier. The offense is now starting to feel the impact. I mean, look, Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker are major situations to monitor. And I just hope that Kirby Joseph can come back. That knee situation, something to monitor. He did not practice today. We'll find out tomorrow if he's going to practice. Could be another week without your best safety.
Doc, what do you think of this matchup this weekend? They're 9.5-point favorites against the Commanders. Can this game tell you anything you don't already know about the Lions? I know I mentioned this earlier. I think a blowout against the Commanders, would it be nice? Of course. But does it answer any looming questions you have? What do you expect them to do this week? Bounce back for the offense, the defense? How do you expect this game to go?
Yeah, no, look, first and foremost, it sucks that Lou was back. You know what I mean? Can you put back that suspension? That was a little bit crazy. Look, first and foremost, the Lions have things that they need to work on. Can they? I mean, you would think that the Commanders are going to try some interior stuff to get some pressure. Do the Lions handle that? Do the Lions pick up the screens a little bit better? Do they handle their opportunities? So I'm excited to see the corrections. Yeah, you always, in any NFL game, they're getting paid too. They listen, I'm going to try to stop saying that they're going to curb stomp other teams. The odds are in the Lions' favor that they're going to execute and be around at the end to make the more plays. And also, too, you have to think, and Aiden kind of hinted at it a little bit, that part of the motivation this week is Dan Campbell saying, hey, this is the team that curb stomped you in your own crib. We go out there and, hey, they're wounded. Let's go keep them down. So I expect a beating because right now the roster should be seeing red for a lot of reasons. One, that's the team that eliminated you. Two, they're wounded. They could be gotten. And three, you just played your worst game of the year. You want to leave that taste far behind. You want to shut up everybody that's saying and worried about the team. And you want to get back on the winning path. So go and handle business, play Lions football, work on some things too. This is a kind of game where you could work on some things. Like in the end, I feel like the talent level is very much in the Lions' favor with how things are going to shake out. So let's see if there can be some execution in the deep passing game. Let's see if the third down execution, let's see if they can stop the mistakes on first and second down, stay on schedule. Let's see if some of those things happen. Lions should win. So you also learn about how the team starts adapting to what the opponent does, because right now teams are using a special coverage to keep everything in front of them. Let's see if they can beat that.
Doc, we got mailbag? My bad. Sorry.
No, we can get to mailbag unless you have a question. You want to?
Yeah, we can hit mailbag. I'll hit the question here in a little bit.
All right, let's. We got some mailbag for you, Doc. So we'll get to it. Rando, appreciate the $5. He says, "At Doc, I've been a fan since '72, and yes, I would rather go Brad route. We have been aggressive and pass and shot ourselves in the foot every time."
Okay, that's very fair for those that have said, "Hey, roll with draft and develop. You have a good team," but it happened last year. You got Zadarius Smith. That's a good move. But that wasn't all in. That was just to patch up the fact that you had a defensive line that was hurt because you lost Aiden Hutchinson and Lee McNeil. So you haven't done factually, you've made moves. But what we're saying is an all-out declaration. Hey, go out and get. And so the concept is the wording has been F them picks, meaning not a 6th-round pick for a left guard. Okay, we're saying a different strategy that eventually is going to say we're going to target a year where we're going to go, all right, we're going to do what the Colts did. We're going to say we're going to target this player. And it doesn't have to be Trey Hendrickson, but for example, we're going to target this guy and we're going to give up 2 first-rounders. We're going to get this guy. And okay, we're going to give up a 3rd-rounder and that. We're going to give up that one. So F them picks means at a certain point, logically, Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have said we have a good team. The 5th, 6th, 7th rounders aren't making the team. So those picks are just, going to be tough for these guys to get on the field. So eventually you would say, hey, how many first rounders do you really need? Start using those maybe type guys. You have enough. Like, you have the foundation. Use those future first rounders to get proven guys eventually to get after it. But they've chosen a different route. I respect it. It's gotten you consistent wins, but I feel like the final piece of the puzzle has been shown to work if you do it properly. And listen, all you can see is, why are the fans unhappy? They're unhappy because they feel like their Super Bowl dreams took a massive step backwards this last 2 days. We'll see. And I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. I could be the butt of Brad Holmes saying, Doc, I heard you screaming that you weren't happy. Are you happy now with this ring? And I would say, you know what? I forego the trade deadline demands. But until they have a ring, they got nothing to stand on. I got 50 years of history that says you're one of the teams that never been to the Super Bowl. I see two teams, the Rams and the Eagles, that have won it. So it's not stupid to say, hey, copy them, try to do what they do. You got your part done. Now start to kind of upgrade the talent a little bit, more impact, baby, especially with the Lions. Like, weird stuff happens with the Lions. Like, they were up 2 touchdowns in the 2023 NFC Championship game, and the football bounces off the dude's head, and he doesn't catch it. The other guy catches it. You tank it. It's gone. You don't win it. And here we are. I could be of the opinion when I speak, I feel like Brad Holmes still owes me one more Super Bowl. I feel like the Lions should have had one by now. And I could argue that with different moves, they could have had a Super Bowl already.
Next question, Steve says, Doc, do you plan on holding Morton accountable tomorrow?
I feel like there's a lot of ways that could go. First of all, type in the chat what you would like to be asked. I feel like the question is going to be asked, like, why did you repeat some of the plays that were kind of non-functioning, like the screen game and stuff like that? I feel like if he pays any attention, he should just answer it the way David Shaw did. Melodramatic, kind of be like, on a given play, everybody has their responsibility and everybody's got to do their job. And I feel like the screen game would have worked. They look good on paper. If everybody would block, Jahmyr Gibbs could run. Like, that's what David Shaw said. So accountability is great. How do I plan on holding him accountable? My questions, for him are just basically going to be, the adjustments of the offensive line. I guess would it be play calling that is kind of upsetting people? Like, I still have to work on how to phrase it in a way that I think he'd answer it, but I feel like he's going to get questioned a little bit about the struggles. But Jared Goff started to talk about it a little bit. They got to be better. They got to execute better. They got to block better. They got to do a lot of things better. And John Morton could easily punt it by saying, I don't really want to talk about the Vikings game anymore. Let's talk about the Commanders, because I feel like we're going to have a good time. So we'll see what I formulate if I get an opportunity. I feel like John Morton has a way to kind of push through some of those things with a lot of coach speak, but I do think he's going to get grilled a little bit regarding the run game and what he can do to get it better. And I think those questions are going to be asked. But what do you want? What do you guys want to know from John Morton? I know the one that blew up my stream at Lions on SI has been, why did you call so many screen passes? So that's one. What do you want to know about from John Morton? Why didn't you adjust the play calling? Okay. And so when he says, okay, let's just say, okay, I asked John Morton, hey, why didn't you adjust the play calling? And what if he says how? What would you say as a retort? Do you say be more aggressive, pass the ball more, basically I would say, I think my retort would be, well, it kind of felt like eventually the passing game went a little bit horizontal. What's your plan to kind of get it more vertical?
Doc, you could bring up the lack of drop in yards across the board. I mean, you could just, the yards are down, rushing yards, passing yards, sacks are up. Like, open-ended question, let him explain. Why is that?
You should hit him with the stats, since Kelvin Shepard, after week 1, Kelvin Shepard basically was like, well, if you take these 3 plays away, we actually were really good. You should tell him what Will Birchfield said, and you'll probably see Will there tomorrow, but you should tell him, like, hey, if you take that 70-yard Jahmyr Gibbs run away, you guys are 32nd in the last 5 weeks in runs, yards per carry.
Yeah. So the running game,
that's not really a question. That's kind of a
that's just a diss right to his face.
I know you guys.
I would be so bad in that room, man.
Yeah, no, guys. Listen, I get it. It would be more like, the run game isn't where it needs to be. How do you plan on getting the run game to where it averages a more manageable yards per carry every single game, stuff like that. And he's going to say blocking. We got to block it better. I feel like he's going to handle it. It's good. I do think that he's going to be asked a lot of these questions. It's going to, clearly the numbers are drastically different. The offense is not the same. But guys, Frank Ragnell's gone. You have a young offensive line and your left tackle's hurt. So I don't think that it's not excuses, but I think that he's going to have an easy way to answer some of these questions by the way in which he addresses it. I think the answers, you're not going to get him to be like, oh my God, I'm a terrible OC. I can't figure it. He's going to be like, yeah, we got to do better. We have to execute on every given play. And I bet you, we can laugh, he's going to say, do your job.
Now Lucas asks, Marcus Davenport update.
Yeah, I do think he's a couple weeks away. We saw him in the locker room today. He was walking around. The problem was Graham Glasgow was talking. I wanted to sneak over there, but he was in the locker room. So Marcus Davenport sighting. So I expect that he's going to be around to practice and be playing in December.
And then we have Full Slate Farms Doc Special Teams has been bad this year. Any tough questions for Dave Phipp tomorrow?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be like, hey, the special teams unit has, not performed up to par. A lot of possessions on the other side. First of all, it'll be, what a lot of people are going to ask about the blocked field goal, what happened there. And, he'll be asked about the disappointment that he felt in the team, the Vikings starting on the Lions side of the field so many times, the missed blocks, the poor special teams play. Yeah, he'll be asked quite a bit. Yeah, I like the fact that you're like, well, Doc's the guy that's going to ask him, but drop them in the comments after the stream's done. What questions do you want Dave Phipp, Kelvin Shepherd? That's a great thing for the fellas here. Build their engagement up too. What are the toughest questions that reasonably Kelvin Shepherd, John Morton, and Dave Phipp are going to be asked tomorrow? They'll handle them just well. They might even start, with the explanation as to it wasn't good enough, that they got to execute better, that it was just one of those games where, the attention to detail wasn't where it needs to be. So listen, I respect that. That really means a lot that you guys, know that I'm willing to ask these type of questions. But if you really listen to these guys and the questions, yeah, there's a lot of PR type stuff and there's a lot of repetitive type stuff, but there are a lot of questions asked. If you really pay attention to them now with the better microphones, there's been a lot of good questions about, hey, your run game wasn't good. David Shaw was asked like, hey, what's going on with the offensive line in the screen game? So there are a lot of good questions. I know that you guys like them direct, like Dave Phipp. I think you guys don't want a question. I think tough for a lot of you guys indicates just tell them directly, Dave Phipp, I thought your special teams unit sucked last week. What are you going to do to make it better? John Morton.
There you go.
John, I noticed that with Ben Johnson, the running game looked so much better. Is it feasible you can get back to that? And he'll be like, huh? They'll be like, our center retired. Our left guard, our left guard is no longer going to be with us. And our left tackle and right tackle are dealing with stuff. Give me a break, But yeah, you guys want me just like, Doc, go there, be blunt and just be like, Mr. Morton, when I talked to you week 1 and I told you to run Ben Johnson's offense, I kind of was serious about it. Can you go back and do that? Can you get this offense to kind of look like the offense that we want? Jahmyr Gibbs' fantasy numbers are way down and his fantasy owners are very upset. And all the gambling folks that want him to have an anytime touchdown or the over-under and his production are very disappointed. And I don't think that that's going to work for us anymore, brother. That offense, or Mr. Morton, this offense that you're running is not going to work for me anymore, brother. Can you fix it?
Now, I will say I feel bad. Dave Phipp, he's been like the guy that's been like absolved from any like criticism. Like he's Dave Phipp. Like he's just.
Oh, okay. You know what? I will listen.
He's just a good dude. And now
I will say this. Dave Phipp will be the hardest to ask a tough question to. Kelvin Shepherd's fair, but he might chirp back. So it's always a little bit challenging. You got to get your points across. John Morton will easily evade it and drone you out. The problem is I might not be able to ask Dave Phipp a question. You ask him one question, he gives a 5-minute answer. And and a lot of times, I'm not going to lie, he starts talking and then he veers into something else. Then he veers into something else. Half the time he loses me. I can't follow all that. He'll be talking about some blocking and I don't really write about special teams a lot. Sometimes I write about the kicker, but he'll veer into this and he'll veer into that. And sometimes I'm just transcribing some of the other guys' stuff. And I'm just like, I look up and he's still talking. I'm like, what the hell was he? What was asked? I forget what was asked. So there might be tomorrow, Dave Phipps is going to be asked like 2 questions, and he's only got 10 minutes, and he can easily use it up with an intro. Like, that wasn't good enough. What happened on the kick? Then someone's going to be like, why is it that, kicking has been more difficult for these guys? Oh, what do you think about the guy that kicked the 68-yarder? Those are 4 questions right there. Right when I go, oh, last question, and that'll be it. So he's got to be like less like Doc and more like others, right to the point and get to it so we can ask some of these questions.
Let's see. Rando says, Doc, does the NFL need to expand a 60-man roster?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a benefit to that. You see a lot of these injuries, the opportunities that you see, with the guys that are inactive. I think that you can expand more guys elevated would be great. Opportunities to get more guys up and stuff like that. Absolutely. That's a great idea, or more guys active on game day would be amazing. I think it's a great thing. More opportunities for guys, more competition. So, man, it's tough league. It's a tough league, and Dan Campbell runs tough practices. So I'm all in favor of that. I don't see no drawbacks to it. And I think that, opportunity for, some quality play and some competition I think is great too, because, maybe give Aiden Hutchinson a spell with somebody that can play. Aiden Hutchinson played. And what do you guys think of this? I'm just curious. What does the chat think? Aiden Hutchinson played 100% of snaps against the Vikings. And another great reporter asked Calvin Shepard last week, like, hey, do you think you should give Aiden a little spell so he's not tired by the postseason, or give him a little bit of a rest in some of these games? He's like, you go tell him that. Aiden doesn't want to leave, but I do think that they got to manage the guy a little bit, because you need him thriving when it comes to the postseason. I'm not talking about like taking him out for, just one play, like a handful of plays. If you have an opportunity in down and distance that's in your favor, maybe give him a little bit of a spell, maybe 90% of defensive snaps instead of 100.
Even Myles Garrett, Doc, gets a couple off.
Yeah, my God, 100% of snap. He's young and he doesn't want to leave the field, but I feel like you got to protect him against himself sometimes. So we'll see what happens.
Let's see here. Nick P. Mailbag. Was there anything on DJ Reed today? I know you talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, no, he was I haven't seen him. In regards to what people are expecting, I think it's going to be a couple more weeks until he's eligible to come off IR, but I don't think he's going to come off this week. I think either next week or the week after, there's an opportunity for him to come back. Maybe the Eagles game, maybe after.
All right. And then
Mailbag Booner, Doc, if you were able to play and step in for one position on this Lions team, what position would you step in and play?
Baby, the quarterback, baby. I'm the lead dog.
No, we're done, dude.
I want to run the offense. I want to be the guy.
Over.
Listen. The quarterback is the guy that takes all the blame, takes all the credit. He stands in front. He's the leader. He's the alpha. Does that not suit my personality? If I'm not the quarterback, then I want to be the cornerback. I want to be Amik Robertson. I want to be the guy that goes up against these wide receivers and talks a lot of trash and then hits them and knocks the football out. And then I want to pick, because me, I would have the high step and I'd do the sprinkler in the end zone. I would have the best dances. I would do the 50 pumps, and they'd be like, what is he doing in the end zone? They would be like, Mr. John Maakaron with his pick 6 earned a $100,000 fine for simulating all these weird acts. And he was putting his leg up, doing the stanky leg. He was doing things that we've never seen before in the end zone. That's not appropriate. And I feel like knowing Amik Robertson, I would act like him. Just tell everybody you're the best. Tell everybody that, even if you get cooked, you're on to the next play. Tell everybody that you're rugged, do your thing. And I want all the focus on me. And also too, if I was an NFL athlete, I would do a 45-minute session every week. I'd be like, have all the cameras on me and be like, I'm sitting down, and I'd be like, ask away. And I want to be on camera for 45 minutes. And I want all of you to write and I start assigning, you're going to get this question right about me. You're going to get this question right about me. You're going to get that question. I'd have 9 writers, and I'd be like, listen, you guys got to separate all this, but I want every question transcribed, and I want all of you to write a story about me. Because the media can be such a great way. And I would have a podcast like Terry and Arnold, and I would do a lot of media and do a lot of television and get myself over, because I feel like now if you put my 46-year-old brain with a 25-year-old athlete's body, I would be mega famous. Mega famous.
Now, what do you think of Juan? He said, Mailbag Doc, do you think Draymond will take over after Izzo's done?
Oh, what? Dude, that'd be great. That would be great. That would be amazing.
I think it's Steven.
Maybe Steve. I don't know, man. The Izzo era is one that's really complicated. I feel like he should have got the second one. I asked him that directly. Do you need the second title to validate your career? He kind of answered it in a great way, but I feel like he deserved more than just one championship. That'd be really great.
Can we agree? Can we agree on one thing with Izzo? And I think he's one of the greatest top 5 college coaches of all time. I coached college ball.
Of course, all those Final Fours. Relatively speaking, we were greedy. We want more championships.
I would say, can we agree though? One thing over the last probably, I mean, I guess I would have to see the exact year it goes back to. I think it might have been like the last 7-8 years since his last Final Four. He just hasn't been what he has been throughout his career. It's been he just hasn't been able to get over that hump again. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, it's a different era. Like, he's old school. These guys want playing time. It's a different value system. It's just a different, after the last Final Four run, it's just a little different time, man. COVID was different.
Yeah.
And it's just a crazy, crazy time period, man. But I can't wait to see what the next era of Michigan State basketball would look like. I just feel like they should have more success than they've had. And it felt like, based on his expectations, he wanted to be Duke, and he ended up falling just a little bit short, but still a great type of program, well respected, and his legacy of what he's done with those kids has been spectacular. And yes, to the chat, there are cameras that could suit my height challenges. These guys can bring their cameras down and film me. Trust me, when they know what I got to say, they're going to definitely find all the cameras to record what I would say.
Well, Doc, that'll be it for the Q&A, Doc. We appreciate the hell out of you. You crush it. We appreciate you joining us every single Wednesday. You guys can follow the Doc and Detroit podcast on X and check out his YouTube channel, Detroit Lions on SI. Doc, good stuff.
Love it, Doc.
Thank you guys for the opportunity. And to Lukas, I would rather lose my nuts, baby. I love talking sports. It's the lifeblood of all the things I do. I did a show before. I did this show. I did a live radio call-in during my show. So I've thoroughly enjoyed the new role that I'm in, and you guys are liking it. For all the one haters out there, there's 99% that like it. So you guys keep crushing it. And Booner, if I spot you in the Michigan press box, please don't big time me. Say hello, and I will find the New York deli that you're going to buy me for all the help.
Well, you owe us New York deli because you were late to the show today.
Listen, you don't want me getting hacked, because if people start sharing stuff from my iCloud, it's going to be a big problem for the DOC.
There you go. The Doc joined the fellas.
Oh my gosh, dude, he is the best. I
don't want to know what the Doc's got in the vault there. He's doing some special things, Doc. We love him.
He is so funny, man.
Yeah, he's one of a kind, truly. We got about 6 minutes left. Drop your Q&A questions for the fellas. We'll answer whatever. By the way, the Pistons have won their 4th or 5th straight? 5th straight, I believe. Yep. And guess what? Jalen Duren, 22 and 22. 22.
Jalen Duren looks really good, dude. Jalen Duren.
That was the breakout player from me, man. Jalen Duren, the big fella.
He's not doing it though. He's not. I'll say what. He's not doing it like Bam Adebayo. He's doing it like
that was
Rudy Gobert.
Big picture. I was thinking.
Yeah,
he's hitting some mid range though. Hey. He's hitting some mid-range, though, Boone. Maybe not. He's not shooting threes, but I know they talked about the green light thing, but he's getting it. He's getting it.
He gets some up, but, I mean, he's just more so, man. This guy is just, like, dominating the boards, and it's incredible to watch him play basketball right now. It's really fun.
Yeah, he's balling. Asar has another, I think he had like another 18-point game tonight.
Yep.
Their Pistons look good, man.
I had him in my...
What were you gonna say?
Oh, I had him in my NBA parlay that I put in tonight.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, his points, rebounds, assists. Every time the Pistons play, I just take it. He's pretty reliable. He's hit it. I think he's only missed like alternate 18 like twice this year.
Randall Mailbag, you guys think Lions prioritize left tackle QB at next year's draft? Oh, by the way, to answer this question, left tackle, yes. I don't know about quarterback, though. I don't think they prioritize it, Rando. I think you got time for that. By the way, we're getting asked by Lucas to play the JJ clip.
We're not playing the JJ clip. I do think it's really funny. Like,
Come
that
on.
we're in the group chat, and then everyone's just going at JJ, be like, him being like 9 is insane. I do think it is actually kind of funny. And you know what's funny about it? I can relate to it because, and Klotz probably has some of the videos, but like JJ being like 9, I call him 9, and there's the video of him in the locker room, like,
Called himself
like
9. Yeah.
The thing is, though, it's like I can't, like, you guys are making fun of it. I don't think people understand, like, him like getting in that zone and like looking like mad. Like, that's what I look like before Kool-Aid chugs to get prepared. And Klotz has like filmed every single one of mine. I can't say anything like what JJ McCarthy does to get locked in. That's what I do for Kool-Aid chugs. And that's just, so I can't make fun of it. You guys are making fun of it. You guys are just making fun of me. Like, I'm your friend and you guys are making fun of me.
No, it's not making fun of you, but you don't play quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, but like that makes it even worse. Like, he's playing in the National Football League. He's playing in the National Football League for $10 million a year. I'm doing it for the love of the game for no money. I'm out in a field just like doing what at least this guy's doing it to play for a Super Bowl. I'm just doing it just to do it. I mean,
look at this man, dude. Like, here, we won't play the clip. Basically, the clip's him saying he calls himself 9 on game day. It's like his alter ego.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I'm not gonna say I like it, but I like it. That's literally me. You could ask Klotz. That is literally me before Kool-Aid chugs. That is funny. That is unreal.
Oh, it's just funny, man. Like, again, like, it's just like, what do you do with this guy, man? I mean, like, what do you do with this guy, man? That shit's just funny to me, man. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's like, it's funny when you hear quarterbacks talk like that, because quarterbacks, it's like a position where it's like, you know, it's steady Eddie. The only quarterback I could think of that does stuff like this is like Baker. But Baker's never been like, has like an alter ego, but he has emotion. I mean, he does express emotion, you know, but every other quarterback's pretty cool, calm, collected.
I love how you say steady Eddie. Like, I just don't know why.
Steady Eddie, man. So Jared Goff, Mahomes, all these guys. Josh Allen
said JJ cannot be afford to lose another game with the content that had just been released.
yeah. Oh, dude, I can't.
It's almost 10 o'clock. Let's wrap the show up. It's been a fun one.
Yeah, we're not playing. You guys can check the video out on Twitter. It's on everything. It's him talking about the alter ego 9. The alter ego. We'll get out of here. Appreciate you all. Appreciate the doc. You guys can get your merchandise, official CT Sports. Hit that like button on the stream. It helps us push out in the algorithm. We will catch you guys tomorrow. Sam Flannel, I believe, is joining the show tomorrow. All right. The 9.
It's so funny in this group chat we're in. The group chat's is funny. Like, there's like half the group chat joking about. I don't know who's serious and who's not in our group chat, if I'm being honest.
I'm never serious.
Because I'm trolling, and Spenny seems like, are you guys actually like pumping up 9? Brady seems mad. And then someone's like Klotz is like, someone's like, well, so Brady's like, oh, JJ beat us though. And Klotz like, so did Jordan Love. And I said, Mahomes and 9 both beat you. Put both of them in the same category. Patrick Mahomes and 9.
And 9, bro.
I love it, dude. It's so funny.
I can't do it. It's funny. We'll be back tomorrow. Much
Shout
love
out
to you all.
Boys. Love you guys so much.
All right. Peace.
Flannel tomorrow. Shout out Miles.